Hello guys, the next video wherein we are going to be discussing how we can integrate AWS Lambda with S3 buckets. So in this particular video, what we are going to do is we are going to be doing two things. First of all, we are going to be creating Lambda function. Second of all, we are going to be uploading data into S3, which will be acting as a trigger to our AWS Lambda function. So let me just go ahead and create the first thing, create the function. I'm going to choose author from scratch. I'm choosing the function name as test func. I'm just going to keep things simple. Runtimes, as you can see, multiple runtimes are available, but I'm going to choose Python 3.7 as I have done in this particular project until now. So let's just wait for like 10 seconds and I'm sure the AWS Lambda function will be created. And by the way, I'm not using any custom execution role or any AMI role for this. I'm letting AWS Lambda create that particular role on its own, as you might know that it needs CloudWatch permissions in order to interact with that particular service and plot the data for every invocation, every successful or a failure metrics on that CloudWatch. So here we are, our function is ready. Here in the designer, as you can see, our test function is there. There are no layers, there is no trigger, or there is no destination. So what I'm planning to do over here is I'm going to add a trigger which is going to be an S3 bucket and a destination which is going to be an SNS topic, which in the end, on a successful execution of your Python function in your Lambda, will trigger whatever, an email or a Slack notification or anything, which is not a part of this particular project. But just so you know that what SNS topics does is it alerts the party on the other end of the process, just to let them know that this particular function is executed or this particular thing has been done. So more on that later, but let me come to function code first of all. What we see over a very simple ready-made Python code which we have. We are just going to tweak it a little bit. We don't even need to add any test events to it. Nothing other than the usual default ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and type whatever we have selected over here in my Komodo edit. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to copy this source key and I'm going to type it over here. And I don't need to worry about anything like in order to print this particular source key or anything, because the major priority over here is to understand the flow of execution and not understand how Python works or how a dictionary works or things like that. What I simply want is this particular event variable to fetch the response which is created when a particular person uploads an object to that target S3 bucket and a response is created. That response is given in the form of a variable named event to this particular function called a Lambda handler. And Lambda handler is, as you have known, that is the first function which is called whenever Python function is executed. So that is this. And then, as it is self-explanatory, it returns this thing, status code as 200 and the body as a JSON hello from Lambda. We can tweak it, we can turn it, we can say hello, a particular file has been uploaded to this particular bucket, so and so, yada yada yada. But as I've iterated earlier, it is not of essence for us to understand how Python works. It is of essence for us to understand how Lambda works hand in hand with other AWS services. S3 bucket is the one in this case. Okay, so since we are done with this, let me just go ahead and save it. That is done. Let me just go ahead and test this one, but for that I need to create test events. This is done. Now we are done with AWS Lambda function for now. Now I'm going to divert my attention towards the trigger part, which means over here. Okay, so right now we don't have anything to trigger things. So what we want is an S3 bucket which will act as a trigger. So let me switch to S3 management. Here I have created a bucket named source bucket 2808. Now please keep this thing in mind that your S3 bucket names should be very, very unique. because it is in the global region where you create it, and sometimes as per your requirement you can keep it public or private. It depends on you. I'm keeping things public for now because I'm going to be deleting this bucket very soon. So there is no use on trying to access this bucket after you watch this particular video. Yeah. So please make sure that you choose a unique name for your particular bucket, because or else you won't be able to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a particular file in this particular S3 bucket, source bucket 2808, and I'm expecting this particular Lambda function, test func, which we have created, to be triggered, and that we can check via monitoring, and we can check via CloudWatch as well. But more on that later. Let me just go ahead and create a trigger first. Since we already have a S3 bucket, let me just tap on add trigger, go to select a trigger. Let me just type S3 storage, it will appear over here. Now please select the S3 bucket that serves as the source event. This bucket must be in the same region as the function. Yes, it is. And I'm going to select source bucket 2808. Now here it is asking what type of event type you want this bucket to follow. So here it says select the event that you want to have triggers the Lambda function. You can optionally set a prefix or a suffix for an event. However, for each bucket, individual event cannot have multiple configuration with overlapping prefixes and suffixes, which is like out of this the scope of this particular project. So I'll just go ahead and choose put. Here, as you can see, there are multiple options. You can choose put, post, copy, multi-copy, upload completed, and a lot of other things. But I'm just going to go ahead and choose put. Now prefixes and suffixes I'm not choosing, because I'm going to be uploading each and every a lot of random text files on this particular bucket, so I don't need to work on these aspects of the trigger. Okay, so acknowledge. Okay, fine, let me just add it. Okay, so there you have it. Our trigger is ready and our test function is ready. So now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to S3 management, and I'm going to upload a small test file, which is an empty file, and let's see if the test function gets triggered or not. Okay, so I'll go to upload, I'll go to add files, I'll go to Lambda, and I've created these 5 files which are empty files, which will be useful for us. Okay, next, upload. So I'm just waiting for this to get uploaded, and let's see what happens next. Okay, yeah. So the file has been uploaded, and since it is there in this particular bucket, what we are expecting is for this particular Lambda function to get triggered. Okay, so the trigger has been successfully added. Okay, that is fine. That is not an issue. That is not what we are looking for. We are looking for a couple of things in the monitoring part. Let me see if that helps us. It has not been shown on this particular CloudWatch yet. There it is. So as you can see in the monitoring tab, there are CloudWatch metrics over here, and the CloudWatch dashboards, where you can see the number of invocations made, the duration it took, the error counts, the success rate, each and everything. So after we upload the file.txt under source bucket 2808, here we can see that there is one invocation. The duration, the amount of time it took, 1.82 milliseconds it took. Apart from that, here we can see the success rate and the error rate. So here you can see the success rate is 100%. So the first invocation which was triggered via the file upload in the S3 bucket was successful, and which helped trigger the AWS Lambda function. So this goes to prove how the working happens, and how the AWS Lambda got triggered. Now, in case you need to add more flavor to this particular Lambda function, all you can do is you need to modify your Python function as and when you go. For instance, you can say you can type something like this. You can type the source key as in the file which was being uploaded, and you can type, hey, so and so file has been uploaded at so and so time, and you can insert the time slot using timestamp using the time function and everything, time library. So that is what you can do. Other than that, I don't think anything needs to be added. Everything seems fine. So I'll keep things as it is right now. And what else? The next thing what we need to do is we need to create the endpoint or the destination for it. Now, in order to do that, it is fairly simple. I'll just go ahead and tap on add destination. And I want an asynchronous invocation, not a streaming invocation. And I want the invocation on every success. Okay. And I'm going to be creating an SNS topic for it. And right now I have multiple destinations already configured for it. Let's say simple LB is one of the destination for SNS topic which I have created. And mind you that your function execution doesn't have permissions to send result to the destination. Sometimes if you don't have that particular permission role, then AWS Lambda creates it for you and attaches it to it, attaches the permission roles for you. So you don't have to worry about that. But if you want to customize it and you want to keep track of it, please by all means create the roles independently and then attach them. But for the course of this particular project, I'm keeping things simple. I'll just go ahead and click save, hit save. It will take a couple of seconds. Just be patient with it. Here is the S3 bucket which we had created. Yeah. So this is what it looks like. So now for every upload in S3, this particular Lambda function will be invoked, and on success, this particular SNS topic will be triggered. Now at the end of this particular SNS topic, I have configured an email which I cannot share the email address over here. So just so you know how the functioning works, a file is uploaded in S3 bucket via the put command. So every time a new file has been uploaded in S3, this particular function gets triggered, and on success, the response, like the HTTP status for this particular thing, if it isn't 200, it won't send any data or it won't trigger any Amazon SNS topics. But if it is successful and the response status code is 200, it will trigger this particular Amazon SNS topic, and the email ID or the webhook configured on the end of SNS topic will be triggered, and the person sitting on that end will be notified. So this is the entire workflow of this particular project. I hope you understood it. If you haven't grasped the idea of triggers and destinations, I urge you to read more on it and come back to this particular video and watch it again so that you can get a better knowledge of it. And as you can see, it is still showing an option to add trigger and add destination. So this only goes to show that you can add multiple triggers and you can add multiple destinations. So thank you for watching this particular video. I hope you gained some knowledge from it. All the best for the future. Thank you.